That was a big win over a bad team that came at a tremendous cost. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. If you're on the West Coast, it's the afternoon. I'm Grant Cohn. I'm in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Niners are 6-3. They just beat the New Jersey Giants, a team that's in the NFL, apparently. Not going places. Niners are, though. Niners are back after losing an extremely embarrassing game to the Houston Texans, a team that's not great. Niners are 6-3, but bittersweet victory because at the end, when they were up big, up 17 in the fourth quarter, Mykel Williams appeared to tear his ACL. The Niners are afraid that he tore his ACL. That's the initial diagnosis. Remember, they didn't even think that Nick Bosa tore his ACL when he did. Then he found out that he did. Mykel Williams, their initial test that said that he did tear the ACL. Bad news. We'll find out for sure after the MRI, but it looks like he's going to miss the rest of the year. And before I start doling out blame, I just want to say that my heart goes out to Mykel Williams. He's been a really tough guy, and no one deserves this. And I think in the back of everyone's mind, people were thinking, who's going to go down today on this awful turf? Remember, this is where Nick Bosa tore his ACL 5 years ago. It's where Jimmy Garoppolo had a high ankle sprain about 5 years ago. There's history here. Everyone knows the worst surface in the NFL, and it turned out it was Mykel Williams who went down. So, all right, blame. One, the New York Giants and the New York Jets. This turf is a joke, and everyone knows it's actually a joke. People make fun of it. Everyone knows it's terrible. Ha, ha, ha. Credit to George Kittle after the game saying, why does the NFL allow a stadium to have a surface that everyone knows is terrible and people laugh at? It's not fair to the players. The NBA would never have a hardwood surface that wasn't as good as other ones. The English Premier League would never have grass that isn't good for their soccer players. It's so strange that the NFL doesn't really care enough to make a rule about the quality of turf. There really shouldn't be any artificial turf in the NFL, but according to George Kittle, there's like 12 different types, and the Giants and the Jets have the worst one. I don't know why. I mean, they sell tickets. You'd think with all the money they pay for their players, they'd want to actually pay for the surface as well. So that's one. Shout out to the Niners for having grass. I still don't understand any team that builds a new stadium without grass. Like, shame on the Rams. Shame on the Seahawks, and good for the Cardinals for actually having grass in a dome. Okay, now Kyle Shanahan. Why was Mykel Williams in the game up 17 in the fourth quarter? I guess it was too early to sit all the starters, so maybe that's unfair to say, but the game was pretty much over, and Mykel Williams is your first-round pick, and you're already down like 17 defensive linemen. And I'm not saying the season's over because Mykel Williams went down, because frankly, he wasn't making a huge impact, but you were hoping that he would develop and improve as the year went on so that next year he'd be, maybe a Pro Bowl player. Now it looks like that development could be halted. So unfortunate, and like the injury itself was unfortunate, and maybe you blame the surface, but also I think it's fair to wonder, why was he in the game that late? Maybe up 17, you put in your backups and figured that you're not going to lose. I'm just saying, because I'm going to get to Kyle Shanahan in a little bit, but it felt like he made some oversights in this game, some questionable decisions that could have hurt the Niners, but ultimately didn't, except for this one. This one hurt him, but his calls at the end of the first half, his calls in the red zone, his usage of Christian McCaffrey, questionable, but really the Niners could have, Kyle Shanahan could have called plays while standing on his head, and they would have won, because there is something truly special about this New York Giants team. And when I say special, I mean special in a bad way. So always great to beat a bad team. There's some bad teams in this league, and while the Niners aren't a juggernaut, it's not the best team they've had by any stretch. You can't say what the best team is in the league. And if the Niners aren't a Super Bowl contender, who is? I know I'm a little bipolar on this the last few weeks, but the Niners are pretty mediocre, but so is every team in the league. The Packers lost today to the Panthers. It's hard to say which team is better than mediocre this year. So as long as the Niners are mediocre, they're in the mix. Doesn't mean they'll win the Super Bowl or win a playoff game, but they definitely shouldn't be like big-time white flag sellers. Mykel, I'm so sorry that you got injured. I feel like this one should have been avoidable. So we're going to get to Kyle in a minute. After the game, he was asked about Brock Purdy. I found this very interesting. So they brought Brock Purdy to New Jersey. He's been on the last 2 road trips. He's practiced the last 2 weeks, not fully, but as a limited participant, which means he doesn't do the reps in 11 on 11s. I mean, I guess that's what they say. The media's not out there. When the media is out there, Brock does everything Mac does, and he frankly, I mean, to the untrained eye, looks fine. He's not playing actual football, but he looks fine. So we asked Kyle today. Nick Wagner asked. I was trying to. Nick beat me to the punch. Freaking Nick. Asked him, like, how close was Brock to being active today? Because that was insane. The idea that the Niners would activate him but not start him. Like, why would you do that? Kyle said not close. I don't understand why they brought him out here, but they said it wasn't particularly close. And he did reveal some new information. He said that they don't want to play him until he's 100% healthy, and that he probably won't ever be 100% healthy again this season. So you finish the logic syllogism there. If they want him to be 100% healthy and he's never going to be 100% healthy this season, when's he coming back? I guess maybe if Mac Jones gets hurt and can't play, maybe they'll go to Brock Purdy and say, hopefully he stays healthy. But it sounds like he said one more thing. We want Brock to stay out as long as he can. So it seems to me that they're not going to rule Brock out for the year or put him on IR the way that, the Bengals did for Joe Burrow. They didn't rule him out for the year, but put him on the back burner. The Niners don't want to do that for whatever reason. But every week they seem to be telling us, like, it's not this week. It's not this week. And don't get your hopes up. He might return next week against the Rams, I guess, but it doesn't sound like they need him to or want him to. He's not going to be 100% healthy next week, which means there's a chance that he can make it worse. He's already done that once. Mac Jones is 5-2. He's coming off a win. It was the Giants, but he was, very efficient, very good. There's no rush. If the Niners are looking to buy as much time as possible with Brock Purdy, they just bought another week. Really. If Mac Jones lays an egg against the Rams, maybe they bring him back after that in a move of desperation. But it seems to me that with a 6-3 record, they've bought themselves a lot of time. Even if they lose to the Rams, I mean, that's going to be expected, right? They're going to be underdogs in that game. They lose to the Rams, they're still 6-4. So you don't bring back Brock Purdy for any other reason than he's 100% healthy. You brought him back against the Jaguars. You knew he wasn't 100% healthy. And you acted like you needed that win. You were 3-0. That's an AFC team. I don't know what they had to prove. Maybe they didn't like Liam Cohn. Maybe they felt he was stealing signals. I don't know. But that was a huge mistake. They can't make it twice. Like, once is a mistake, twice is gross negligence. So it sounds like the Niners get it. Maybe they're not being as transparent as we'd like. Most teams aren't, especially if it's the franchise quarterback we're talking about. So think that puts things in perspective. Don't get your hopes up. Don't hold your breath that Brock Purdy's going to come back and start against the Rams next week. I don't think the Niners want that. I think the Niners want Mac to play as long as he possibly can. Finally, I asked Kyle Shanahan, is there a possibility that Brock Purdy will need surgery after this year? And Kyle, he can be pretty, he can pick his words carefully sometimes. And he said, no one has told me that. That's different than no. That's an I don't know. And as far as, like, no one's told me, maybe when people come by, he's just like, I don't want to know. Grant's going to ask me. It sounds like if they're saying he's never going to be 100% healthy this year, there's a possibility he'll need surgery in the offseason, or he'll need so much time away from football that it'll feel like an extended recovery, an extended rehabilitation. So I don't know. What are our expectations for Brock this year? Will he play another game? Maybe. If Mac Jones goes down, I think they might rush Brock Purdy back out there. But saving that, maybe if there's a long losing streak, it seems like by not putting Brock Purdy on IR, they've given themselves the option to go back to him if things get weird or go down the tanks, the tubes, or if Mac Jones gets injured. But saving that, it seems like they're telling us it's not really recovering in a timely fashion. It's worse than you realize. And again, don't forget, he's already come back once. The organization, the training staff already cleared him once. And when they cleared him, it was premature. So I think it's fair to assume that they're not going to do that twice. Put yourself in the York's perspective. you are open-minded about this team. You don't want to fire people. You fired a bunch of people last year after they missed the playoffs. This team's probably going to make the playoffs, but if they don't, and Brock Purdy gets injured multiple times because you brought him back out there early, it's easy to fire the training staff or someone like that. How are you keep bringing these players back? We're paying so much money to Brock Purdy. We understand the first injury in Seattle. You can't avoid all injuries in football. He left the pocket. He didn't slide. It's kind of on him. It's not on the training staff that he got hurt in Seattle, but the fact that he got hurt against Jacksonville, that's negligence. And if you do it again, and it really affects his career, or it cuts into his offseason, or he didn't need surgery and then he gets hurt and now he needs surgery, someone's got to go. And they know that. I think the Yorks know that, and I think that's why the Niners are being so cautious without really explaining what's going on. I still think the move would have been to put him on IR so you could have another player on your 53-man roster, but I don't know who that player would have been. Travis Gibson? Maybe Travis Gibson. Official BNI Music 88 says SF, third SF first-round D-line pick to tear their ACL here. It's true. Nick Bosa twice, Solomon Thomas once. Guess who never did that? Javon Kinlaw. You guys gave him so much crap when he was here. I was the only one who liked him, defended him, believed in him. And now look at him. Shame on all of you. All right, let's talk about Kyle Shanahan, the job he did today. I mean, he won. His offense put up 34 points. He found another weapon in Brian Robinson Jr. I don't understand why they traded for him if they weren't going to use him. And the idea was, one, keep Christian McCaffrey fresh. They're not doing that. But two, use Robinson in the red zone. It should help them score touchdowns. They have one of the worst red zone scoring percentages in the league. They finally gave him the ball. He scored from the 18-yard line, kind of pressed the issue. He's been doing such a great job as a kick returner as well. It's kind of like leaving them no choice. And no offense to Christian McCaffrey, but guy's still averaging like 3-something yards a carry. Couldn't be worse. From an efficiency standpoint, at least he's, hell of a receiver and he's durable. But yeah, I mean, you can mix in another guy, especially if that guy's averaging like 10 yards a carry, like Brian Robinson Jr. did today. So good for Kyle in those ways. Here's what I didn't like from Kyle. A few things. One, Mykel Williams being in the game that late, unfortunate. Two, Christian McCaffrey being in the game late. After Mykel Williams went down, what was there like? They were up 10 with like 2 minutes left and you're handing off to Christian? No, not on this surface. Not in this game. Not when you're up 10 on this awful turf after watching Mykel Williams tear his ACL. Like, you're asking for trouble. So didn't like it. Didn't cost him. No harm, no foul. But these are little details that I'd like Kyle Shanahan to clean up, right? You talk about players with their execution and the little stuff they need to clean up. How about Kyle? Big things with Kyle, he does a good job. Little things, that's what I'm talking about. How about the jet sweep he called for George Kittle? That was one of the worst calls Kyle Shanahan has ever called with the 49ers. He called it 4 or 5 years ago for George Kittle. It was a bad idea then when he was 27. Now it's terrible. It's the kind of call Kyle would have called, I keep using that word, for Deebo Samuel. And that would have been a good one for Deebo a few years ago, but there's really no one on this team who can execute that, which is too bad because that's really been Kyle Shanahan's best red zone play for years. The jet sweep, the end around. But they don't have anyone like, so I hated that call. And to Kyle's credit, after the game, someone asked him in his press conference, what was that? In a nicer way. He was like, yeah, that was a bad play call. You don't hear Kyle do that very much. He's feeling secure about it. He's feeling secure about himself, not insecure, when he can say that. So shout out to Kyle for that one. Still awful play call. He knows it. And then the final one, you have the ball at the end of the first half. This one blew my mind. You're going to get the ball to start the third quarter. You have every reason to be super conservative here. You could literally take a knee, end the first half, get the ball back at the same field position in the third quarter. If you wanted to be as conservative as possible, you can guarantee the Giants don't touch the ball again in the second quarter. Instead, Kyle passed. Okay, fine, man. I'm not saying you got to be the most conservative play caller of all time. Fine. Take a shot, even though it's the Giants and they suck and you're going to win and you're just giving them an opportunity to get back in the game with the turnover, but fine. What you can't do is call a deep drop for Mac Jones and not chip on Colton Kivitz's side. because Colton McKivitz isn't good, even though you paid him, even though you talked yourself into saying that he's a gritty guy. Like, he's not good. He makes Mike McGlinchey look like prime Trent Williams. He needs help. And in that situation, you left him one-on-one with Brian Burns deep in your own territory. Like, should Mac Jones have stepped up in the pocket and got rid of it? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Josh Allen would have. Mac Jones isn't quite that. And he fumbled, and the Giants recovered. And what did they do? Missed a field goal, so we can all laugh about it. Haha, it doesn't matter. Sure, of course it doesn't. But in the future, Kyle, what are you going to do in that situation? I bet you he goes conservative. I'm not saying you have to just run the ball out. You don't have to do that. But if you know that team has the sack, like the number one sack leader in the league, you did this against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Hassan Reddick led the league in sacks that season, and you left him one-on-one with the backup tight end, and he mangled Brock Purdy's elbow. This time, Brian Burns leading the league in sacks. You let him go one-on-one with Colton McKivitz. You know, that could have made the game a lot closer, but the Giants are truly one of a kind. So, yeah, man, just help Colton. He's not as good as you think he is. I know you love the Colton McKivitz experience because you don't really want to invest highly in offensive linemen. You want someone like him who's gritty and blue collar. It's just he's not good. So I don't know how well Kyle Shanahan coached in this game. 34 points is 34 points. That's like Kyle Shanahan in a nutshell for me. Even in his best performances, there's these little details that you feel that that just slipped through the cracks that he wasn't thinking about. But there was one detail he did. The Jauan Jennings showcase. It seems pretty clear that the Niners want to trade Jauan Jennings, that teams want Jauan Jennings, and that Jauan Jennings would like to be wanted by someone, and the Niners aren't that team. Before the game, I was reported, I believe, by Ian Rappaport that teams are calling the Niners about Jauan Jennings. I wonder if teams other than the Niners told Rappaport, if the Niners told him because they want teams to call him. Hey, Ian, teams are calling us about Jauan. Tell them. Whether they are or not, Jauan had a pretty good game. He had a very nice touchdown catch, one-on-one, just destroyed that backup Giants cornerback, whoever that is, and scored. So if the Niners want to make a trade at the deadline, why not include Jauan in that trade? I'm not saying sell. I'm not saying tear down your team, but I don't think you really need him. He doesn't want to be here. Probably best to move forward with players who want to be here and who are going to be here in the future. So include him in a trade package for someone on defense. Do you need to trade for a running back? Maybe not. Maybe just try to use all your running back. Like, wouldn't it be kind of stupid to trade for another running back when Brian Robinson just did well, Christian's still healthy, and the other two guys haven't even gotten a look? Garendo still has 0 carries on the year. So your run game, you got the personnel for it. You're not going to trade for an offensive lineman. Ayuk's coming back theoretically. So Pearsall. So maybe you needed Jennings for this stretch. Maybe Pearsall's never going to come back and they still need Jennings. But to me, it felt like they were showcasing him in this game. They went to him early. They didn't go to him late. And now they have a nice little trade piece. At least Jennings had a good game and can show teams that he's healthy enough and he's focused enough. Who knows? Maybe if he goes to another team, he'll be much better than he's been for the 49ers. I think that's a good little sidebar for the Niners, that Jauan Jennings played well, and now they have a trade piece that isn't a pick. They don't want to trade their draft picks. They have so many huge contracts. So many players are spending so much money on. They need guys on their rookie deals, especially now that Michael Williams is out for, an undetermined amount of time. They need more draft picks. They can't trade them now just to fill holes on the defense. So they got Jennings. They can trade him. It'll be interesting to see what they get for him. I wonder if they were to trade Jennings straight up for a pick, what would he be worth? 5th round pick at best? 5th at best, I would think. Maybe a 4th, probably not a 4th, although maybe today he increased his trade value by a round. But again, I don't think they'd be trading him for picks next year. They need help now and in the future, not just in the future. They're 6-3. And anytime you think a team that's like really good this year, they lose. So as long as there's no like consensus best team in the league, keep adding to your team. And move any players that are malcontents. Again, to Jauan Jennings' credit, he wasn't today. I don't think that Debo could have had a game like this last year. He was so upset. He was a problem all the time. Jauan wasn't in this game. And for all of his poor play, maybe he was just seriously injured and now he's not. Okay, let's reassess. Hold on, let me do some super chats first. It's Nick Friel says Jalen Phillips is a Niners guy, injury prone. Maybe don't go after a guy who tore his Achilles last year. Logan Gutierrez says, is the team Super Bowl bound? All of Brock's contract went to other. If all of Brock's contract went to other players, they could be Super Bowl bound this year, if players on other teams get hurt. It's like football's kind of unpredictable. Bill Kennedy says, is free agency the best way to develop an offensive line? No, it's not. Drafting. And you need a good offensive line coach. I'm not sure if Chris Forrester is or not. I don't know. Dustin the Gale says Aaron Rodgers injured on that same field as well. Yeah, it's terrible. It's Nick Friel says Colton Nuggets is terrible. Mick Nuggets. Christopher Hengler says, do you think Jones is better versus the Rams than Purdy? Yeah, I think. Here, let's talk about that. Just a second. All right. Next week, Niners play the Rams at home. And I think a lot of Niner fans would really love Brock Purdy to play in that game. They'd love Ricky Pearsall to play in that game. But I think the Niners have to be really smart here. Would Brock Purdy give the Niners a better chance to beat the Rams than Mac Jones? I don't know. They don't know. Maybe if Brock Purdy were 100% healthy and not rusty, maybe. Because Mac, he seems like he's probably playing through 2 or 3 injuries himself. But Brock's not 100% healthy. Kyle said that after the game. They don't want to play him before he makes a full recovery because that means he could re-aggravate it a third time. And Mac's already beaten the Rams. So, and they're 6-3, like I said. So, doesn't it seem that this is not a must-win game? It's a divisional game, but it's not a must-win game. Even if you lose, you're 6-4. So, I think the same logic applies from the Week 4 game against the Jaguars. You can lose to the Rams. What you can't do is lose Brock Purdy for the season because you're going to need him again at some point, most likely. God love Mac Jones, but the offensive line isn't that great, and he's not very mobile, and he takes some big hits. So, and it's football. So odds are you're going to need Brock Purdy at some point. Don't just throw him out there because you have this rivalry with Sean McVay, and you don't want to lose face to him and your division rival. Yes, it'd be great to beat the Rams, but you already beat them with Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne and no George Kittle. Now you have George Kittle back. Who knows? You might have Ricky Pearsall back. You won't have Fred Warner. You won't have Michael Williams. Those guys played in that game, but you have the trade deadline coming up. They're going to make a move. So I'd like to see the 49ers stay the course with Mac Jones. I think it shows a lot of confidence. I think bringing back Brock Purdy after what you said after the game shows desperation. And there's no reason to be desperate when you're 6-3. And that's what I said when they were 3-0 and they brought Brock Purdy back. Like, why? You could lose to the Jaguars and be 3-1, but if you lose Brock Purdy, the season's over. I was wrong about that, by the way. I thought if Brock Purdy went down, the Niners would go down with him because he's such an incredible starting quarterback, and franchise quarterbacks are always way, way better than their backup. But turns out that he's not that much better than Mac Jones, if he's better than Mac Jones at all. So the season's not over. They're 5-2 with Jones. And if Purdy never plays another game, who knows? Maybe they win the Super Bowl. But I think they're going to need Purdy back at some point, and I don't think this is the point. So give Mac Jones another start. He earned it. He won another game. He's beaten the Rams. Let him play another game. He'll either bench himself, get injured, or give the Niners even more time to let Brock Purdy recover. Before I get to the trade deadline, I want to talk about the training staff. I know fans get upset with the training staff when players get injured. And it's not really fair because it's like it's a contact collision sport. And what are they supposed to do? There's going to be a certain amount of injuries that are unavoidable and just bad luck. But there's other kind of injuries that these guys might be maybe not responsible for, but like kind of responsible for. So let's differentiate. Michael Williams tearing his ACL on this turf. Is that the Niners training staff? Is that their fault? Obviously not. Fred Warner breaking his ankle. Is that the training staff's fault? Obviously not. That's just bad luck, or you could blame it to have 10 men on the field. Definitely not on Ben, whoever the guy's name is. What's it? Dustin Little, not Ben Peterson. But when players come back too early because they were cleared by the training staff and re-injure the same injury, that's on them. And that happened this week. Yetur Gross-Matos, one of the highest paid players on the team. He's been injured since they signed him last year. They've been trying so hard to manage his injuries and get him on the field. He missed the last, 3 or 4 weeks or more with a hamstring strain. Robert Saleh says he's back. He's coming back this week. But what happens on Thursday in practice? He re-injures the hamstring, which once again indicates that he shouldn't have been practicing that much. And he wasn't back. And the Niners rushed him back. And those are the kind of mistakes that you can't have. I mean, I think the players need to have confidence in the training staff, the organization, the fans, that they know what they're doing. They're not pushing these players back on the field before they're ready just so the Niners can win a game, maybe. That they're detached from all that pressure to win this week. That's not their job. To bend the rules or, whatever. I'm not saying bend the rule, but just like bend their standards, lower their standards and say, yeah, I know. Normally, we wouldn't clear them, but we really need this one. It's a big one. So it's the re-aggravations that ultimately land at their feet or at the feet of, the coaching staff too, if these guys are just following orders. So there's the Yetur Gross-Matos one, and then there's the big one, Brock Purdy. He injures his toe week 1. That's not their fault. That's not the training staff's fault. He injures his toe again week 4. That's absolutely the training staff's fault because they said he was cleared and ready to go. They said he was 100% ready and there was no risk of re-injury. Wrong. If he had went out there and injured his shoulder, that wouldn't have been their fault, but a new injury. But the same one, because he wasn't ready to take a hit, but you thought he was, that's on you. So again, if it happens one more time this season, given the money the 49ers have invested in Brock Purdy, someone could get fired. Could be Dustin Little. It could be someone higher up than him. That's why I think the Niners are being so careful. They understand that they're, messing with the highest paid player in the organization. I think the Yorks care about what happens to Brock, even if Mac Jones does well. If the training staff keeps getting Brock injured, the same injury over and over again because they won't let it freaking heal, someone's going to have to pay for that. So it's a serious situation. They know it. And I think that's another reason why we're going to see Brock Purdy have an extended. I wouldn't expect him to play against the Rams, even if they thought he gave him the best chance to win, which he might. I have no idea. I don't think he's going to play. And I don't think it's necessarily just Brock holding himself out. I think this is the 49ers training staff saying, oh, shit, we cannot make that same mistake. It's just too bad that they made the same mistake with Yetur Gross-Matos. He's important, especially now that Mykel Williams is out for the year. I mean, within 3 days, they lost their two best interior rushers. Thank goodness they traded for Keon White. And I didn't really see him make an impact today, but Cleveland Farrell did. Off the practice squad, he had the sack. He was making plays against the run. They're going to have to add another defensive lineman after these two went down. I mean, really, they really have to. I don't know who they will. But yeah, if you're calling for the training staff, you have to look at these recurring re-aggravations. Now let's talk trade deadline. I think last week was kind of depressing because the Niners lost to the Texans. They scored 10 points. They looked like a team that was bad. But I think the Niners have looked like that most of the time they faced AFC teams. I don't know what that's about. But going back to last year, they've been losing to AFC teams they should beat. They go against an NFC team they should beat, they smack them. And you look at their schedule, this is a team that's probably going to be 9-4 at the bye week. So again, are they the best team in the league? Absolutely not. But as long as you have a record like that and there's no clear dominant contender, favorite in the league, just keep putting yourself in a good position. And I thought you have this opportunity at the trade deadline. What do you need? Not really a wide receiver. You got two coming back in Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk. You'd love an offensive lineman, but that's not available. Don't need a tight end. don't need a running back as long as Brian Robinson Jr. is playing like this and Christian McCaffrey's still healthy. You need defense because, 10-point win, but what did the defense do well in this game? Did they rush the quarterback well? Did they defend the run well? Did they tackle well? Did they cover well? I don't think so. Any player on defense, whether it's a middle linebacker, an outside linebacker, a defensive tackle, a defensive end, maybe they don't need a corner, but they could use a safety. Although Malik Mustafa had a pretty good game in this game after being super rusty last week, and Jair Brown had that nice pass breakup in the end zone. I didn't think he was going to get to that one. So maybe they don't need a safety just yet, but like anyone in the front seven would be great. And I think they're going to make a deal. They have to make a deal. They can't sit pat at 6-3 and say, you know what, we're not that good. What message would that send to their own players? Hey, I know you guys really worked your ass off and fought really hard and won some incredible, improbable games, but we just think you're mid. So we're not going to do anything. Sorry. I think it would energize Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, George Kittle. Like, hey, guys, an older team, a lot of injuries. We believe in you. It's why we signed you. It's why we put this team together. It wasn't a wait and see year. It was a go for it year. And look at us. We're freaking 6-3. Why not? Be smart. Be prudent. Don't trade away a first-round pick. Maybe don't trade away a second-round pick. But try to find a good deal, someone affordable, on defense, and keep in mind how bad you are at drafting. Round 3, Nick Martin, Jake Moody, Cam Latu, like Danny Gray. You've had some of the worst third-round picks in the history of the third round. Trade a third-round pick. You're going to get another third-round pick back and a comp pick anyway. Trade a third-round pick. It's just a guy you're going to whiff on in the draft and get someone who can help you right now and next year. Keon White was a start, but you could do a lot better. And again, I think the Niners will. I think it'd be such a bad look to trade Jauan Jennings away and add nothing after losing Gross Matos and Mykel Williams back-to-back. It'd be a really bad look. And I think there's a lot of pressure from the locker room, from George Kittle, from Christian McCaffrey, from Trent Williams. Like, yeah, we're healthy. We're here. We're working our asses off. We're fighting like hell. Help us out because we don't have enough. And as good as their record is, as hard as they're fighting, I mean, it seems like they can't really withstand that many more injuries. And it's every week. Trent Williams after the game was talking about the straw that will break the camel's back. Well, maybe it wasn't Mykel Williams, but the next one could be, unless they make an interesting trade. Why not? You have nothing to lose. Probably you could get a guy wholesale. I mean, considering you need everything on defense, can't go wrong. How about, obviously the Dolphins they're an obvious trade target. They have Mike McDaniel. They have a lot of the same scheme over there. They're tanking. They fired their general manager. What does Miami have to offer? Well, they have those pass rushers, although they all have injury history, and maybe the Niners should stop adding players with injury history given their track record with players who don't even have injury histories. But they do have an older safety who was a first-round pick who just might, be interesting. What if they traded Jauan Jennings to the Dolphins for Minkah Fitzpatrick? I'm saying, the Dolphins need a wide receiver. They lost Tyreek Hill. Mike McDaniel's coached Jauan Jennings before. He'd be a nice compliment to Jalen Waddle. They don't need Minkah Fitzpatrick. They're not going anywhere. Trade him the Niners. You could have Minkah Fitzpatrick and Malik Mustafa playing side by side in the secondary. That's a pretty good safety tandem. I'm just trying to think of clever little ways to make this team 1% better. I'm not saying if you trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, you win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying trade a second-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's about 37. No, he's not that old. But how about Jauan for him? I know I was doom and gloom last week after the Texans lost. That was a pathetic loss. I was playing the long game, though. I was figuring if I was just like, it's just one loss. No. Got to make sure that doesn't happen twice. And I think that I did a great job this week as quality control, really sticking it to the Niners and made sure that they understood how serious that loss was last week. Boom. Look at this performance here. Not Kyle Shanahan's best performance, but the players showed up. Last week, they seemed exhausted before the game started. This week, I thought it was going to be more of the same because they didn't stay on the East Coast. They went back home. I guess they didn't need it. Good for them. I'm freaking tired. Houston, New Jersey, back-to-back. Are you kidding me? I could not have played a football game today. I think I'm going to have to retire from the NFL. I just don't have it anymore. 37 years old. I can't make that one guy miss. You know what I mean? I just can't make him like I used to. It's too bad. G-Dog says, beard looking fire. Thank you very much. I'm trying something new. Ryan G. Hensley said to grow up the beard and my hair, and I'm trying. I feel like it looks pretty good. Lil Bebe SF says, Puka just got hurt again to the locker room. Saying the division is wide open. Like, yeah, the Seahawks look really good. Guess what? The Niners already beat them, and their quarterback is Sam Darnold, who's good. He's demonstrably good. He's had 2 good seasons in a row, but in a big game, are you scared of Sam Darnold? If the Niners had to face Sam Darnold in the playoffs, would they lose? Mac Jones could beat Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Sam Darnold is going to beat Sam Darnold in the playoffs. That's sort of his history. Anyway, I'm back on the Niners bandwagon. Mac Jones for MVP, Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year, and Grant Cohn for quality control of the millennium. All right, let's do some prize picks. They're doing different prize picks today. They're calling these streak prize picks. So let's check them out. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 0.5 rush and receiving touchdowns. Sure, I like that. He's having a great season. Okay. What else? Pick submitted successfully. Sweet. Love that. Okay. Can I do any more? Play now. Only one? What about Sam Darnold? 241.5 passing yards. More. I think so. No, keep the current pick. Only get one? Okay. Well, look, I'm a little confused about what's happening right now because I just wanted to show you my picks from this week, but they won't let me show them because I guess it's something else. So look, download PrizePicks and play the free to-play streak. 1 pick a day, keep the streak. I guess the idea is you make a pick, and if you get it right, you make another pick the next day and see how long you can keep the streak going. I like this game. This is kind of fun, and I'm going with Jackson Smith and Jigba scoring a touchdown. You know what? No, I don't like that. I want to go with Zach Charbonnet with more than 9.5 points fantasy. And I'm going to say why. Yes, Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably the best wide receiver in football right now. But Zach Charbonnet is a very unique running back in the sense that he gets goal line carries and he is the third down receiver out of the backfield. They don't really throw the ball to Kenneth Walker as much as effectively. So we're talking points per reception, PPR leagues, touchdowns, first downs. He's the goal line back and the finesse scat. Have you ever heard of a goal line / scat back? That's Zach Charbonnet. That's a UCLA Bruin for you. I'm kind of like a goal line back and a scat back all in one, just like Charbonnet. So that's what I'm going with right there. That's the pick. Download the app yourself. Use promo code COHN. Play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineups when you use promo code COHN for your first lineup. Download that. What else we got? Abu Marco 23 says, are you going to hit up Joe's Pizza tonight? I might. I got probably another hour here. I'm going to do my grades. I'm going to bounce, go to Manhattan, enjoy it a little bit more, and then get out of here. I got a flight 6 a.m. out of Newark. So I don't know. I'll probably stay up all night. I just hope I don't pull a Mark Sanchez, man. What happened to Mark? Everything was going so good. So I'm going to try to keep it chill. You know what I mean? Just out of respect to Mark and all the Sanchez's out there who thought they were, had it made. And then all of a sudden, boom, man. I don't know where I'm going with that one, but I'm just going to try to keep it chill in New York tonight and in Newark. Did you guys like this game? It was interesting, but I felt like it was a hard one to cover because you don't want to make any overly big statements. because it's the Giants. But then again, I made overly big statements last week and then they won. But we all expected they would win this game, right? You can't be like, oh, they beat the Giants. Well, forget what you thought you knew about this team. Like, nah, it was a good win. Every win is a good win. There were things they could work on. And Michael Williams going down at the end was not great. And when we learned about Brock Purdy was interesting. So that's what I got. I don't know. I didn't have as much caffeine today. I'm a little tired. I'm tired, man. East Coast, new time zones, and what was it? Daylight savings time's over. I got a beard. It's just, I'm old, man. Hip hurts all the time. Constantly stretching doesn't help. What is that called when the top of your glutes and your hips hurt? And the only thing that makes it feel better is flexing your abs. What is that? That's called getting old. And I hate it. But I'm handsome though, so I got that going for me. That's my handsome face. Stay tuned. I'm moving my dad to Mondays. He used to be, Cohn zones were always Tuesdays for the last 6 years. But you know what? Ryan officially retired so he could focus on coaching the youth of America in northern Sacramento. I respect it. So I figured who would get the promotion to Monday, day after. I think my dad has earned it. He's had a hell of a career. He turned 80 yesterday. Happy birthday to the great Lowell Cohn. He's going to be now the official Monday guy on my channel. I'm going to talk to Larry, see if he'll do Tuesdays with me from now on. Just because I got a Tuesday spot now. So I'm just saying. Max707 says, how were the NYC tacos? You know, I didn't have an NYC taco. I was walking around Harlem and there were a bunch of taquerias and I meant to have one, but I went to Haji's and got a chopped cheese. I've never really had a New York chopped cheese and I really liked it. And I ate the whole thing. It was $8, but I ate the whole thing and then I didn't have any room left for more food. I would like a New York taco just for I feel like I'll try the New York taco, but I want to have the New York burrito so I can compare it to the San Diego burrito. Because I bet that is the one burrito that San Diego could probably say they have a better burrito than New York. But I don't even know. I can't say for sure. It's a good question. I don't really know. What else we got? Tuesdays with Lombardi? Yep. All right, well, I'll be streaming with my dad tomorrow. I'll be getting home early tomorrow. And then Larry, hopefully Tuesday. Tyler, Wednesday. Tom Walsh. I got to get Tom Walsh a microphone. That's going to enhance that show because he's good. And if you guys be watching that show, you know he's good. You know who else has been watching that show? Bet you Kyle. Because Tom and his dad coached together. That's what you don't understand. Tom was on Mike Shanahan's staff on the Raiders. Just saying. I'm just saying, I bet the Shanahans be watching. You should watch too. Thanks for watching this one. And I'm going to go get dinner. No, I'm going to do my grades first. Then I'm going to go get dinner. So stay tuned for the grades. And have a great night.